I would like to ask the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture what plans his department has to ensure developers will have to assess the net biodiversity gain to the Isle of Man prior to undertaking any housing or commercial developments.
On the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture, Mr Booth.
Thank you, Mr President. The Planning Act sets out roles and responsibilities for both DEFRA and the Cabinet Office in relation to planning. DEFRA's role is to provide a development management function within the wider policy context set by the Cabinet Office. The question of net biodiversity gain is firstly about whether there is a requirement to achieve net biodiversity, and secondly, how it would be assessed and implemented. The first part of this would suggest the introduction of a new planning policy requiring net biodiversity gain and would therefore be a matter for the Cabinet Office to lead on. However, DEFRA also has a role in delivering biodiversity strategy and working towards biodiversity gain, which would of course benefit from this strategy. If and when a policy was established, DEFRA would then be able to put in place the necessary measures to implement it. At the current time, officers assess applications taking into account the information available to them in the form of plans and publications, and any comments made in respect of them, which include comments from colleagues in DEFRA and consultees such as the Manx Wildlife Trust and MNH. Officers take into account particular characteristics of the site, what value it may have in respect of biodiversity, what impact any development may have on the land, including impact on wildlife or loss of special habitats, impact of pollution, the introduction and spread of invasive non-native plants, trees, etc. Furthermore, more sizable applications require the submission of an environmental impact assessment that includes such assessments and means for mitigation and or improvement of the environment.
Supplementary, Mrs Caine.
Thank you, Mr President. And I thank the Minister for his response. And I would like to ask him, what is his department, what is he as Environment Minister, what initiatives is he bringing to the table, perhaps to feed up to Cabinet Office instead of waiting for it to come down and increase what there already is. He may know the UK Government is consulting on mandating biodiversity net gain in development to ensure habitats are protected and enhanced for the future. Over in the adjacent island, developers could be required to deliver a biodiversity net gain when building new housing or commercial development, meaning those habitats for wildlife must be enhanced and left in a measurably better state than they were pre-development. It's stated that action is the first step in the UK Government's ambition to embed the wider principle of environmental net gain in development to drive measurable improvements for all aspects of the environment, such as air quality, flood defences, clean water. Over there, the Government's working collaboratively with developers, water companies, tourism services, energy providers.
Honourable Member, I'm sorry.
I'm getting to the question. Sorry, Mr. President.
The question must be quite short.
Yes, Mr. President. Can the Minister reassure this Honourable Court that with the island's UNESCO Biosphere Reserve status, that he is also taking the first steps to deliver biodiversity net gain for the Isle of Man in any developments?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quite a lot to chew over there. The biodiversity strategy includes actions relating to habitat loss, including Action 21. DEFRA will continue to promote a policy of no net loss for the semi-natural Manx habitats and species and ensure that unavoidable loss is replaced or effectively compensated for. This is applied via advice from our policy team to the planning team with regard to specific planning applications. I am aware that there is an England-only consultation out at present on biodiversity net gain, which relates to their 25-year environmental plan. I will watch with interest the people who respond to that and what the responses are. In terms of working with developers, the planning system is fairly robust, and we do ensure that environmental matters, in particular now we are a biosphere, are considered during planning applications and their processing. In talking to the earlier working with the Cabinet Office in terms of policy, this may be something that we will visit in due course.
Supplementary question, Honourable Member for Middle, Mr Shimmons.
Thank you, Mr President. The recently announced plans in the United Kingdom acknowledge that brownfield sites would be lower on the biodiversity scale. How will the Environment Minister ensure that environmental issues are placed at the heart of any new development on our greenfield sites?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are all aware of the recent report, the Honourable Member brought to this court, and I think we are all signed up to development on brownfield sites where this is feasible. The new area plan for the East is looking at sites that will be brought forward, and of course in considering those sites, biodiversity, loss of habitat and environment is a prime consideration.